in less than a week, we're going to find out what WoW's next expansion is going to be, and we are not going to learn about player housing. We're not going to learn about, us making for ourselves our own little slice of life within the World of Warcraft universe, beyond what I'm going to talk about for a little bit in one of those off my chest, no script, no stream, nothing like that. Hey, it's Soul. There's the advertising things. Please like and subscribe, yada, yada, yada. The Garrison. Ooh, I think I just triggered some folks. The Garrison at the time was trying to be sold as your little slice of the World of Warcraft that you can build and construct and customize for yourself. A lot of folks took the Garrison with very different. They took it in very different ways, and the Garrison tried to be a lot of different things. And I think that was like one of the big problems with it, that it tried to be. It was something that players were, pretty much forced to interact with, at least at some level. It was still very essential, even if it stayed at like a level 1 Garrison and didn't do a darn thing. I don't even recall if it was required to be a level 3 in order to get like the shipyard and all that stuff. And that was its own fun time. But I want to at least lament a little bit. I'm kind of just pre-bitching over the fact that we're not going to hear about player housing. I even went so far as to bet that if they announced player housing, guys, that I'd shave my head bald. Man, I'd do the whole thing. That's how confident I am. And I'm a little bit scared that it's going to happen, but that's how confident I was, and I'll hold myself to that. So this video might age extremely well in 8 or so days. I might look very different next week. A lot of folks had a problem with the Garrison. A lot of folks didn't want to do those things that the Garrison offered them, but it's kind of the same thing as, I don't want to be forced to raid in order to get gear. I don't want to be forced to do dungeons because I get gear faster that way, and so on and so forth. And like I said, one of the problems that WoW made for itself when constructing the Garrison was that it was a vehicle for so many different things about regular gameplay, from professions to getting gear. It was the vehicle that allowed one to actually venture out, thanks to things like the tavern that gave you quests and dungeon things and, stuff to do to make you want to leave the Garrison. But the thing was, there still weren't a whole lot of incentives to leave. But what that thing was, and what I really enjoyed about it, and what I enjoy about it now still, is that it succeeded at being a small piece of the World of Warcraft that was your own, that you can customize to certain extents, right? But you can customize it. Before, we had the Tiller's Farm, which was cool. There were things that we could kind of power up with it. We powered up customizations, and we cleared out stuff, and we got more decorations. We had a doggy that eventually went to the Garrison too, by the way. But otherwise, it was very limited in scope, right? We just planted stuff, and that was a vehicle for commerce, whether it was selling the stuff or cooking things or crafting things, because it could make all sorts of stuff. You can grow rocks. Amazing, right? And the Garrison was so much more than that. I'm sure that at the time, the team was inspired by the farm, and they're like, oh man, people love this thing. Shoot, let's do more. And that was part of what inspired, some of those Garrison activities. Hey, this would be great. The Garrison was able to be kind of like a character in Warcraft. It was more than just, you suiting up and showing how cool your armor gets. You could actually come back to something. You can come, at the end of a play session, you came back home, right? You came back home to see what happened. You get to see, of course, your mission table. That was like the most popular thing. And then you get to visit your herb garden, your mine. You get to double check whatever your work orders were that were going on. It was a way for us to have, set up a little bit of an adventure and then go out and do the actual adventure and then come back. That sort of parallel progression, it ended up following us, mostly in the form of the mission table afterwards. The Garrison did offer a lot of utility. It offered a lot of perks. It offered power. It offered money, gold. It still offers gold if people still decide to invest into it. It's not a lot of gold, but it's still fairly steady. I'm talking about goblin gliders, by the way. But it was a piece of you. It was an expression of you, the player, the person, within the limitations of what the Garrison offered. You could sort of, make it so that all your followers were like the same race or gender. If you really wanted something like that, you could do that. You can decorate the Garrison in a certain way. You can have your guild banners flying. You can have certain statues showing up. My favorite, though, was having the pet menagerie at a certain level. I think it's level 2, and you can choose to have a number of your favorite pets. I think it was either 10 or 15 of them. If you favorite them, they show up in your Garrison, and they start walking around, and they just do stuff. And in the meantime, you have your followers who are walking around, also doing stuff, little interactions, and you can just kind of sort of people watch. Now, obviously, this is not for everybody. The way that I'm talking about this thing, people are like, oh, player housing. Oh, God, dude. Totally not for me. I get it. Just like, as I said before, not all aspects of World of Warcraft are for everybody. That's not the point. But I guess I'm just like, it feels like time and time again that we see one missed opportunity after another to expand on celebrating our characters, the things that we've done in the game in the way that, one, lets us feel good, and two, it expresses it to other people. You know how before, once upon a time, before the days of transmog and wardrobe, people were like, yeah, you remember when I could show up in town and I had the dope gear, and people were like, oh man, that's amazing. Where'd you get that sort of stuff? Those days are long gone for the most part. Thanks to the way transmog works these days, now it's all about, it's more or less that whole freedom of expression. And now the discourse has turned to not, hey, I want to be the best, the best people get the best gear. It's more like, hey, I want to be able to farm this whole content even on a more regular basis, so I can get these cool things, so I can show it off, so I can win some transmog contests and do my Mog Mondays and all that stuff. With those days kind of behind us, I ask myself on the regular, how else can I express myself beyond just my character? And a lot of folks these days have turned to, well, maybe not a lot of, I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, but, we've seen that a lot of this expression comes in the form of, hey, check out my parts, dude. Check out my stuff on the Warcraft logs and all that, which is great. If people enjoy that and enjoy that chase, that's absolutely awesome. It's not my thing, but it's not my thing to diss on either, right? Enjoy the things that you like. But I really would like a greater expansion on ways for players to express themselves. It feels like transmog, titles, and the pet they have next to you, it's no longer enough. The collection system and achievements, it's just gotten too small to express the things that we have done in the game. There's so many things that I've done in my WoW career, even if I don't play a lot of characters, but there's a lot of things that I've done, a lot of things that I've seen and experienced, and it all just gets distilled into the achievement point number. It feels very limited. It feels like player expression, it begs to burst at the seams, but the WoW team hasn't given us the opportunity or the tools to really do that. And so I get a little bit out of that with the Garrison. Hey, I got all these pets. Check it out, buddy. Check out my stable. Here's all the shop mounts that I bought. Okay, bad joke, but that's kind of what I'm getting at. I'd love to have that sort of, I'd love an expansion or a refresh on that sort of agency. Some folks are like, oh, just go back to your Garrison. I am in my Garrison. I'm bitching from my Garrison, asking the WoW team for more. Just like how, people can set up something on Raider.io and be like, hey, here's like the fastest times, here's the leaderboards and all that. I'd love for the WoW community to expand on, hey, check it out. Thanks to player housing, we can now do these sorts of things. We can take people on virtual tours. We can show off all these different screenshots of what we have created. That sort of creativity and expression of it, it's not unlike the dude in epic armor standing on top of the mailbox in Orgrimmar on their super awesome mount. It's not so different from that, but but it kind of evolves from that too, because these days it's not just going to Orgrimmar or going to that one place and looking cool, because that's that's just one out of so many different things that we've seen. But thanks to things like social media, now we have opportunity, thanks to internet, social media, we have more and more opportunities to show off really cool things. We got our Mog Mondays, we can show off our transmog, it looks cool. But we can go so much further than that. And it sounds kind of small, right? It's like, really, Soul, you're going to ask for player housing just so you can get some cool screenshots on social media? It's not just that. But the answer is, yeah, absolutely. Because that sort of expression is something that goes beyond just World of Warcraft gamers. People will look at that and they'll be like, dude, where's that from? That looks hecka cool. I do envy other games that do their own thing on player housing and they get a chance to show off who they are, whether it is showing off their accolades or showing off their creative skills at creating something. We've seen all sorts of games that offer that sort of, some sort of agency of expression. Freaking from Minecraft to other MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV that offer player housing to, well, there's just a whole bunch of other games that can offer those sorts, that offer that. And WoW does not. I'd hate to, I would hate to just give up and see, okay, yep, WoW's going no further than this. It's going no further than your character, your title, your mount, your transmog, and your pet. All your immediate person. That's it. And otherwise, you retreat to your Garrison because that's the most that you get. The Order Hall didn't offer that. It was more like the Tiller's Farm, where certain things that you do let you fill up certain parts of the Order Hall. Get more of the artifact weapons, you can see more things on the wall. Complete armor sets, you can see those old armor sets on a couple of racks somewhere. That was it. That was really just about it. A lot of the expression from the Order Hall came outwards, in the form of buffs and things like that, which were also very cool. But I'm not exactly looking for that. 17 years later, or however long it's been now, it feels like there's got to be a place for our characters to return home to. We got a taste of that in Warlords, but I also feel like it was sold so hard as something, it was so intrinsic to the gameplay that I think people weren't given a chance to appreciate just what it was from a customization standpoint. And if you take out the gameplay stuff, then you just look at the customization, then you'll think, oh, the Garrison sucked too. Because it didn't have a whole lot of customization. Put your buildings here. These are your buildings. These are all preset. And they were very cool. They did have a certain roleplay feel to it. It's like you can go into the barracks and you go downstairs and there's like a dungeon. You can trap people in there and stuff. Okay, not really, but from between that and followers and being able to place pets, there was a little bit there. We got a taste of it. And ever since I got that taste of it, you know, I've been left like hungry, wanting. Not so much that I was willing to sacrifice or to let go of everything else that I've done in Warcraft to just jump to another game. Player housing is not the kind of thing that's going to, make me leave one game for another. And I don't believe that that it would be, or should be made as something that'll get players to come back, because not everyone's interested in it. Not everyone's interested in Mythic raids and dungeons and Mythic Plus and so on and so forth. But I feel like we gotta have something. And it's so odd that I just had to, get this thing off my chest, because, 8 days we're not gonna learn. I'm being very cynical about it, I have to admit. But I long for that. And so I'm just going to hang out here, I suppose, in my little garrison, out in the cold. A little reminder of a little taste of what could have been. Not sure if we're ever going to get any more of that.